Welcome to the Critical Memory Project Tour Day 1. We are here with our German guests to visit the Southeast and to connect with critical sites of memory that connect to the civil rights movement, but human rights more broadly. So coming to the Civil and Human Rights Museum in Atlanta as our first stop just made sense. We had a wonderful tour of the museum just 4 weeks before it's about to reopen. Later today, we're going over to Ebenezer Baptist Church. We'll listen to some folks tell us some stories about Dr. King and his family. We'll walk through Sweet Auburn, the district in which the King family was brought up in Atlanta. Then we'll be visiting the Carter Center. We have so much to do here. So excited about hosting the Germans at this particular time in the US. There's so much going on relative to the federal government's erasure of history. It's important that we know it, acknowledge it, and do all we can to preserve it now.
So as you're going up and looking at the pictures, I want you to really notice 3/4 of the labor were Black laborers. And a lot of these people lived in Shermantown. A lot of the men there worked in the quarries. And what's interesting is they had to have the worst jobs. They were using convict leasing in the granite quarries. It was just a new form of slavery that was permissible in the 13th Amendment because it says you're allowed to enslave prisoners. You did not own these people. You were renting them and the state owned them. There was no problem killing them and working them to death because you were renting them and the state didn't hold you accountable.
Earlier today, we went to Stone Mountain, which has the maybe most famous Confederate monument in the world. And we in Germany prohibit, after the Nazi period, symbols of hate, of anti-Semitism and so on. And here in the open, in a state park, you have the largest Confederate monument in the world. That's somewhat beyond comprehension for someone from Germany. Not only are they still there, they are not contextualized in a critical sense. You have Confederate flags down there, you have statements and other memorial parts of this park that all defend and still celebrate the Confederacy.
You know, as a Black man and seeing that they're honoring treasoners, I really have to put my mind around how something this large and massive can be created for individuals who literally tried to succeed from this union and create another country. Nowhere else in the world do they do that. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. It gives me a little bit of motivation, but it also allows me to understand how things like this can be erected if you are educating the right people in the wrong way.
What's powerful about living and working in Montgomery, Alabama is that I'm surrounded by the souls, the spirits of a hopeful generation, people who put on their Sunday best and went to places to push for the right to vote, the right to be seen and respected, and they got battered and bloodied and beaten. And they went home and changed their clothes and wiped the blood off and they went back and did it again. I stand on the shoulders of people who did so much more with so much less. It would be dishonorable of me to be hopeless in this moment when we have so much. We're talking in a space that we own. We've created sites that I think have enormous power to help educate people. That was something that was denied generations before. We've always had to contend with voices that preach what I call the politics of fear and anger, because it's a very seductive way to govern. I just think it has led to the worst moment in human history, the Holocaust in Europe, the Rwandan genocide, other moments when horrific abuse has been tolerated. There are parallels, but what happened in Germany does not have to happen in the United States. I believe we have the capacity to keep it from happening, but that means we're going to have to push back the politics of fear and anger. The use of fear and anger for political power will lead to authoritarianism, and it's not just in the United States that we've seen that, it's all across the globe. If we can overcome 246 years of enslavement, a century of terror violence, decades of racial segregation and Jim Crow, we can overcome the moment we are in when some people want bigotry and inequality to prevail. We can. I'm committed to being hopeful. To me, that is an orientation of the spirit. To me, we do not have the option to become hopeless because hopelessness is the enemy of justice. Injustice will prevail where hopelessness persists. Our hope is our superpower.
For the people that are familiar with Somerset Place, most of those people have ancestors that remained on that place. But there is a subsection of those people who were marched out to Alabama.
There are 80 of them.
There were 80 of them. And we're descendants of people who were part of the 80.
Our ancestors came from the same plantation. Equal Justice Initiative had placed the 2 slave cabins from Fonsdale Plantation on Freedom Park. And I was very anxious to see them. Proud is a weird way of explaining that.
Walking inside of the cabins, I really did feel a sense of pride. I just kept thinking that people that we were descended from built things like this, that they still endure, that they are in this beautiful sculpture garden. I was walking in the footsteps of an ancestor, literally. I just want to enjoy this journey that the ancestors have me on. But I love that they have given me somebody to share their journey with.
I feel very close to you, even though I only know you, 4 days or whatever it is. I think that our story is important for people to know because it happened in their families somehow. I encourage everybody to go and seek more information about your respective families and not to be afraid because the ancestors are pushing you that way.
We're actually on the outskirts of downtown Montgomery where all of your settlements and your plantations were once located. We wanted to honor the ancestors, those men, women, and children that was sexually abused and trafficked and had to work from sun up to sundown. A lot of those women and men, they came with the genius of taking care of themselves through herbal remedies. And so what I want you all to do, y'all gonna help me prune over here. This is rosemary. It's good for your hair, it's good for your skin. I just need you to take you a good piece like this. We're gonna do this together, right? Because you all need to be cleansed. But what I want you to do is take this piece, put it in your hand and cuff it and wait for everybody to get one. But on the count of 3, we're gonna cover our hands and we're gonna free ourselves for 1 quick minute. Is that okay? On the count of 3, a deep inhale. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. Everything's all right. Feel a little better? A lot of that anxiety?
Right now we're at the Mothers of Gynecology, learning about the history of enslaved African American women and how their bodies were used and abused to develop medical science in the United States.
At our state's capital, J. Marion Sims has been there since 1939. According to his memoir, Story of My Life, these plantation owners were coming to him because their chattel, these girls, were being raped, and they were also developing a vesico-vaginal fistula, which is a hole in the bladder. He didn't want to deal with the female body. He didn't like dealing with the bladder, the vagina. He said it was gruesome. But a white woman fell off a horse, and he wanted to help her relieve her pain. After he saw how he was able to relieve the pressure, he decided that he would experiment on these girls. So I said, I'm gonna wreck my own Mothers of Gynecology. I'll tell their story. So this is them. Each one of them has an Adinkra symbol, Anarcha, who stands the tallest. She has a Ghanaian emblem that means God is supreme. Her head is tilted back. She's in a state of meditation and prayer. She had 30 surgeries, no anesthesia. This is Betsy. She's pregnant, 16 years old, no anesthesia. Lucy, 18 years old, no anesthesia. And on her 12th surgery, she cried out in agony and in pain. But this represents the fistula. And if you can see the rows, something did come out of this that's useful. The procedures that these girls actually helped perfect came from the operations of these girls, or for the experimentation.
We are at the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, which tells a significant history of the Birmingham's contributions to the civil rights movement. Our galleries are established so that you are living the life that African Americans had to live during the segregation era. So you see how public transportation was, you see how schooling was, you even see how entertainment was for African Americans during this time period, and how the segregated South tried to treat them as second-class citizens. Site-based education is also very important because there's nothing better than to be in the actual place that these things occurred. And I hope that people continue to do that because these sites are losing funding. They're not getting the visitorship that they deserve. As we teach the next generation about how things occurred in this country, we have to bring them into those spaces and let them see where it actually transpired. Later on, we'll get to see 16th Street Baptist Church. 16th Street Baptist Church was originally called the First Colored Baptist Church of Birmingham and was the first black church in this city. And because of that, it became a target. On September 15th, there was a tragic bombing that killed 4 little girls at 16th Street Baptist Church because of the activism that was going on in the city at the time. But that tragic event led to lasting change in our society as people were fed up with seeing young children die, especially at a safe place like church.
One day, when the glory comes, it will be ours. It will be ours. Oh, one day, when the war is won, we will be sure.
I'm a US historian who has taught about the civil rights movement. I've been to Birmingham on my own. Going there with this group, with colleagues who work there, with African American colleagues and the people that were invited to hear their stories, to some degree feel their stories, be emotionally touched, added so many layers, so much depth to that experience that it's really hard to describe, but it made a huge difference.
As someone who is German and American, I am really fascinated by comparative exploration of both German and American history and felt incredibly privileged to go on this trip surrounded by brilliant scholars who so kindly allowed us insight into their own personal and academic connections to everything that we saw. The folks we got to speak to who themselves were self-described foot soldiers in the civil rights movement. Getting to talk to them, getting to hear their story in their own words and experience their emotionality was so moving. But to speak to people who were champions of their cause and to watch them tear up so many decades later, we are living in history now. Nothing is so far behind us that it's no longer relevant.
This is the end of the second trip and to some degree the end of what we started out with the Critical Memory Project. This is clearly to be continued, and everyone in this group had so many ideas of how we can stay connected, how we can keep working together. And we are in this together in a certain way, in the struggles that we both face and the difficulties, you much more in the US than we do in Germany. So that journey, in maybe not on the bus together, but in many other ways is going to continue.
When the glory comes.